Hello everybody, if you're new here, welcome to my channel, and if not, then welcome back to another video. Today's video is a very fun one. I was making my list of like my top 10s of the year, and I just had to do this one. I was planning on just doing a like top 10 standalones, top 10 series, but you know, I love reading dark romance. I've read basically only dark romance for this entire year, so I want to give y'all my top 10 favorites, the ones that I think did it best, the ones that I feel like are perfect dark romances, or at least as close to perfect as you can get. And I thought, who better to do it with than Cheyenne from That Tell Book Girl. She also reads a lot of dark romance. We share a favorite author of Amo Jones, and I was like, girl, would you like to do this with me? Because I feel like this would be a perfect video for us to collab on. And she agreed, and I'm very excited because I feel like both of our lists will be amazing. I'm extremely interested to see hers, so make sure you check out her video. It will be linked in the description, as well as her channel. Definitely subscribe to her if you haven't already. Like I said, she has some awesome recommendations, so yeah, thank you to her for collabing with me, and I'm very excited to get into the video. We have 10 books, obviously, my top 10 favorite dark romances, and like I said, I spent almost this entire year reading dark romance, and so I have a lot of ones to pick from. I think I read like close to 250, 275 books this year, with a large majority of them being darker ones, so I know my stuff. I think I'm pretty qualified to say that these are amazing books, these are top favorites, these are so good, and you need to read them. So without further ado, we're gonna jump into the video. We've got a few books to get through. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Hope you're having an awesome holiday season, and let's get into it. Okay, we're actually gonna start with the ones that I don't have in paperback and the ones that I've read more recently. So the first one, A Kiss of Venom by Bina Khan. I believe I'm saying her name right. Let's be honest, I probably butchered it, but this book I only read recently. I read it in December. It is a mafia romance, and a Russian mafia romance to be more specific, so it's a bit darker. Russian mafia, or the Bratva, is known for being like a little more cruel and no mercy, so yeah, it delivers on the darkness scale, but this is a forbidden romance as well. It is a romance between a Pakan, aka the leader of the Bratva in that area, and a federal agent. I really don't know what she is. I feel like she's either a FBI agent or a DEA agent. I'm not sure, but she works for the police. Okay, let's just say that. So obviously there's some tension there. It's forbidden, it's juicy, it's so good. So it starts off with the heroine, whose name is Ghislaine. Her name is spelled quite differently, but it is said in the book that it's pronounced Ghislaine, so we're gonna go with that. She gets in an accident and her husband dies, and then she ends up being in a coma for 3 years. And also there's a bit of like retelling in here, so this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, because when Alexander, the hero, is at the hospital to kill someone, one of his loose ends, he gets pulled in by Ghislaine's like really bubbly younger daughter, and she somehow convinces him to kiss her mom, and he's like instantly sucked in by her, so he ends up kissing her, and she wakes up, and once you get past that little bit of like unrealisticness, it gets so much better. So yeah, she wakes up, and after she starts to recover and gets back to work, she realizes that he is actually the Pakan of the Bratva, and she has a case against him, and she is the leader of the case against him that is trying to get him put in prison. So you can only guess where that shit goes. It is so intriguing, so interesting. If you love a groveling hero, oh my god, he is the one. He is kind of an asshole, definitely an anti-hero. Touch her and I kill you. She is also like widowed and a single mother, so he's extremely protective. It is honestly so sweet. He totally worships her, and I just loved this book so much. It, like I said, is pretty dark. It's not like huge on the darkness scale, but it's definitely not a lighter romance or a lighter dark romance even, but it's just so good. And I read it recently, but I knew as soon as I finished it that this was on this list because it totally deserves to be here. I feel like it's very underrated and y'all need to read it. The next one is Devil of Dublin. It is also a mafia romance because apparently I have just been in the mood for mafia romances recently, but this one is the Irish mafia. So it follows Kellen and Darby, and Darby goes to Ireland or Wales or something to visit her grandpa. She wanders into the forest and meets Kellen, who is a very tortured young boy. He is nonverbal at the time when they meet. He's mainly just gone through so much that he has trouble connecting, but that's not a problem for Darby because she can talk a mile a minute and she fills up the silence, no problem. So they get really close, and she keeps coming back every summer to visit her grandpa, to see Kellen. They get super close, But of course, in every childhood friends to lovers story, you gotta have a moment where they are no longer friends. So she doesn't come back for like 7 years, something like that. But when she does come back, her grandpa is dead. She has a fiance. She's much older. And Kellen has gotten into the business of being hired by the mafia. So he's not like in the mafia. He's not a boss or anything, but he is kind of like hired by the mafia for jobs because he's good at what he does. Let's just say that. But yeah, when Darby comes back home, he just cannot resist meeting her one last time. And then they just get thrown into this like fucking mess and they have to sort their way through it. They get in trouble, they do some crazy shit, and they just have to sort it out and sort out their life from there. It is a very emotional book, surprisingly. It's darker in the sense of like trigger warnings. Unfortunately for me, the sex scenes weren't very dark and like their relationship is pretty light, but the things they've gone through are pretty dark. So if you have any like emotional triggers, you would probably need to check those for that. But on the darkness scale of like the mafia in it, this book isn't that dark. But it is an amazing book and I loved it very much. I actually cried for this one, which never fucking happens. I'm like an ice queen when it comes to reading. But yeah, it's definitely a top favorite dark romance, a top favorite read period, because it's so good. Next up, we have another underrated one, and that is Skeletons of Society by Marie Maravilla, I want to say. This one, y'all are gonna love it. It has so many tropes that I feel like a lot of people would really love, mainly because it is a MC and a mafia romance, and the heroine actually runs the mafia, or in this case, actually the cartel. Yeah, this follows Ryan and Gunnar. Ryan is the heroine, and she is a badass, okay? She's not one of those like too much in your face kind of heroines. I like to call them the 3 C's: cringy, cliche, and clingy. My description of heroines that I call the 3 C's. But anyway, she is one of those heroines that is like badass without trying too hard, and I really love that. So yeah, she runs the cartel in that area. She's ruthless. She shows no mercy. And when that cartel goes to set up an arms deal with an MC club in the area, she meets Gunnar. And they have kind of like a hate to love kind of thing at first. Gunnar is like kind of pissed, like, what the hell? I thought I was getting a guy. But then he sees that she can back her shit up, and then honestly, he just falls at her knees. Let's be honest. He is so head over heels in love with her. After he sees what she can do, he's obsessed with her. He does not let go of her. He will not let go of her, even though she's like, no, we can't be together. It's like, we gotta keep it professional. And he's like, fuck that. So yeah, this is why I thought everyone would really enjoy this, because like, who doesn't love a obsessed hero and a badass heroine and a mafia and MC romance? It's just super good, a great dark read, and I loved it. Another classic, which is It Ain't Me Babe by Tilly Cole. I feel like I haven't talked about this book very much, and I've never shown you guys that I had the paperback unless I hauled it, which I don't remember. But yeah, I feel like I haven't talked too much about this one, which is a shame because it's so good, but I feel like a lot of people have heard of it already, so I'm just gonna like touch quickly on it. This is an MC romance. It's very emotional. It's dark in the way that the like trauma of these characters is really dark, but it's an amazing book. I really loved it. I read it at the beginning of the year, so that's why it's my favorite of this year. It's definitely not like a new release or anything. I think it released in like 2019, and it's also an 8-book series. This follows Salome and River, or Styx, and it's really good. It's emotional, it's beautiful, it's heartbreaking. I really enjoyed it. It is pretty dark. Like, Tilly Cole, I didn't know she could do that. I read a bunch of her contemporary reads last year, and then when I read this, I was like, whoa! But she wrote it really well. It's really beautiful, and I feel like a lot of you guys are gonna be shocked that I only read it this year. But yeah, I read it at the like beginning of the year. I read it, I think, like January 10th or something. That's why I loved it. Definitely deserves to be on this list. It's such a good series, such a good book. Everyone is not lying when they're recommending it to you, okay? Next up is another book that I read actually on January 1st, and that is Swan Song by C. Lamari. I don't know why, but it looked like it was upside down. This is one of those underrated reads, guys. This is so good. It's a dark, taboo, forbidden age gap read. It follows a very damaged heroine who works for the hero, who's in like kind of like a circus. There's also like a secret society, and it's got some fucked up shit in it. They're dealing in some like dubious shit, but there's answers for it, okay? It makes sense in the end, but it also doesn't make sense in the end. But I loved the romance between this because the heroine, number one, she's a ballerina. I love ballerina heroines. I don't know why, they hit every time. And then the hero is kind of in a like secret society, and he's like the boss of everyone, and he's really hot. And the age gap I think is like 22 years or something. It's also Guardian Ward. She's kind of like his adopted daughter, but the public still sees her as his daughter, so it's taboo, it is forbidden, they shouldn't be together but they want to be, and I feel like it was just a really great book. I really enjoyed it. Silamari quickly became a favorite author after this. It was so good. And like I said, she quickly became a favorite author because another one that I loved was Falcons Prey by her. So good. This one, it's a bit different, it's a bit lighter, but it is just as good. Actually, no, sorry. Swan Song is my favorite, but this one is like 4.75, whereas the other one was 5 stars, so not that big of a difference. This one, it's a bit different. It is a bodyguard romance. Don't we love those? The heroine is a really rich diamond heiress, and she's a bit of a bitch, honestly. I love that though, when the hero like worships her and he's the nice one but she's the bitch. They're honestly both like villains and bad guys in this. It's not really like good girl bad boy, it's more like bad boy bad girl. Yeah, their like push and pull in this is crazy because he kind of keeps her grounded because she's a bit crazy. And if you like Beth and Rip from Yellowstone, I'm not saying this is the same at all. I'm just saying this has a bit of the same dynamic. Yeah, she kind of goes off the rails a little bit and he has to like rein her back in, and that's very much Beth and Rip to me. So similar in a bit of the dynamic, okay? I am in no way comparing them. Not at all. They don't really compare in my mind. I love them both, but separately. So yeah, just like a bit of a similarity. A tiny, tiny bit. But I really enjoyed this one. It was super engaging, super interesting. A bit of a second chance too, and just like really, really good. I loved it. Next up is the Pageant Duet by Lilith Vincent. And I'm loving the fact that I have almost all of these in paperback because I've been editing a lot recently. So this is the Crowned or Pageant Duet, I don't really know, by Lilith Vincent. It's a reverse harem mafia read. It's pretty dark, okay? It's not something that everyone's gonna love, mainly because these anti-heroes are fucking anti-heroes. To me, they made it up in the second book, which is Crowned though, so not too much of an anti-hero. Y'all know I love a good anti-hero, but some of them are a bit too much. So this is one of those where I really think they like made themselves redeemable. Yeah, it's not gonna be everyone's favorite. I actually think Cheyenne didn't love this because I feel like she had it for a book club pick a while ago, and I don't think she rated it very high, but I did. I loved that first book. The heroine in this one, she's not gonna be for everyone. She got on my nerves a bit, I'll be honest, but I just feel like it is a very solid read, a very solid duet, and I definitely enjoyed it. It's not my top favorite of this year for any reason, but it is a really good duet and a really good dark romance and a really good mafia romance, reverse harem romance. It hits on a lot of spots and I really enjoyed it. Okay, next duet, and there's weirdly a lot of duets in here, but y'all might get a little bit mad for me about this one because technically Haunting Adeline released last year. So we have Haunting Adeline here and then Hunting Adeline here. I'm talking about it because I read Hunting Adeline when it released on like January 26th or whatever that was. It is of this year, okay? Technically, but not the first one. So I will be talking about it as a whole, and I don't know how much longer I can hold this up. We're gonna do this one because these are some thick ass books. These I think are like 500 pages. Actually, this one's 650. You know what? I didn't care. It was so good. So this one's a stalker romance. It follows a heroine who's an author in this really creepy house, and the hero who is kind of like a vigilante kind of thing. He's an anti-hero, but like he has so many redeeming qualities to him. I loved him. I feel like nobody hates Zayd Meadows. Nobody. Actually, that's a lie. A lot of people on TikTok, but that's because they read rom-coms and then they thought they wanted to read this, but maybe they didn't. Anyway, this one, I just love this duet. I feel like it's one of the perfectest dark romances. One of the most like classic dark romances. Like when you read a dark romance, you need to read this one. If you're getting into dark romance, this is one you need at the top of your list. Maybe not as your beginner one because it's pretty dark, but it's just so, so good, and it hits on all spots. H.D. Carlton does not disappoint. I was gonna put her other book, Does It Hurt, on here, but I feel like it wasn't as dark as I thought it was gonna be, and it's definitely not as dark as this one, so I added it to another video instead. But yeah, this one, so, so good, as well as this one. Obviously, I love this duet, but this one came out in January, so that's why it's on this list. Okay, one more that I actually have in paperback, but they have those glossy covers that I really hate because they show my ring light and my lights, and it really pisses me off. So I'm just gonna put it on the screen for you guys. This is the Torment Duet by Dylan Page. I literally have not talked about it in so long. I was absolutely obsessed with it when I first read it, but looking back, I feel like it was a little bit more messy than I would be prepared for like now, but in that moment when I read it, I was in love because I guess I was in the mood for that. So yeah, this is another MC romance. It is a dark step sibling romance, and it deals a lot with mental health. So if you're not ready for the triggers, do not read this. It's full of triggers. It's crazy. Yeah, absolutely insane. It's one of those romances where it's gonna have a lot of people pissed as fuck. So it follows Mina and Shay. Shay is dealing with a lot of stuff. He has had a lot of trauma. He is definitely a bit of a tortured hero, but like a hero that has had some shit happen. And it's definitely shaped him into the person he is now. And he's not a great person, let's put it that way. Because they are step-siblings, they have known each other for a while. It's pretty taboo because I think Mina is underage. She is pretty young, and she's definitely mature, but she's not as old as Shay. I think there's like a 5-year age gap, and you're gonna have a few people pissed. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of those books that is gonna rip your fucking heart out. It's, like I said, taboo, and it deals with a lot of mental health, so like there's a bunch of sensitive topics that is gonna have you like really confused, and your mind will be warped, and you won't really know what's going on. But if you love these characters, then I think you'll love the book, because oh my god, it's such a hot mess, but it's so emotional and it's so crazy and it manipulates your feelings so much. And I will say it now, a little bit of a spoiler, so if you plan on reading it without spoilers, don't watch this part, but it is also a love triangle. It is a pretty big love triangle, honestly. If you don't like love triangles, this is not for you. I was happy with the ending personally, but I was also like so torn. Yeah, this book manipulates your feelings, your thoughts, your everything. It's crazy, but I did really like it. Okay, my last book is The Isle of Sin and Shadows by Carrie Lake. Yeah, this one is upside down. This one also has a glossy cover, so I'm just gonna tilt it so you don't see that. This one I read for spooky season, and it was so good. It was one of my favorite reads of spooky season. It literally blew me away. It follows Theory, and I think her name is Celeste or something like that. The hero in this one, he is such a mysterious kind of man. He's in like some secret society shit that is giving mafia, but is actually secret society, and he's so mysterious. Oh my god, I loved it. The heroine grew up in that town, but she left after some shit went down, and then her guardian passed away, so she's back in town. She's rediscovering some shit, and it's kind of a hot mess. There's a lot of like ghost stories and mythology and lore in this one. A lot of interesting things that you cannot wrap your head around until the end, but I just feel it's so good. The push and pull between the two main characters in this one, they were totally in love, but they like didn't really want to be together, and they had like that push and pull, and he's a bit of an asshole. He's definitely an anti-hero, but I did not give a fuck. I loved him. And I just feel like it was one of the hottest books that I read for spooky season. And that's saying something, because I read Demon Dick, guys. That's the next level. But it wasn't hot in the way that it was like super smutty. It was hot in the way that the characters were so full of chemistry together. Oh my god, I can't even describe it. It was so good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's definitely one of the first books that came to mind when I was making this list. Okay, everyone, that is the end of today's top 10 list, which is great because the lighting is really starting to go in my room. I'm filming a lot of videos today, so I had to pack them in. But yeah, thank you very much to Cheyenne for collabing with me on this video. I wasn't actually gonna make this video originally. I had to like move my schedule around to fit it in, but honestly, I'm so glad I did, because this list to me is like some of the most perfect books I've read this year. They were so good, and I love them with my whole heart, and I was very glad to talk about them. So yeah, thank you for watching today's day of Vlogmas. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a great holiday season if you celebrate whatever you celebrate. And yeah, as always, my links to everything will be in the description. Cheyenne's video will be in the description, but you can also find my Goodreads, my Instagram, my wish list, my email, all of that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys are having a great December reading month, and I'll see you in my next video literally tomorrow. I was about to say very soon, but it will be very soon.